See, you're not part of the debit credit economy. They can't control your money. They can't threaten you with credit ratings and credit scores if you're a cash customer. And increasingly, this albatross around the neck of the consumer is only going to get tighter and tighter. I just learned the other day from a credit card company that they can lower your credit score if you complain, or if you just make an inquiry. They tabulate your inquiries. And of course, here's the worst one. Credit cards are lowered by the number of credit cards you have. How do you like that? See how there's no end to it. There's no end to it. Now, what's interesting is, why don't people get angry? We have lost our freedom of contract. That's one of the pillars of our legal system. 99% of all the contracts we enter into, we sign on a dotted line, right? Credit card contract, insurance contract, bank deposit card, you name it. It's all pre-printed by the seller to the seller's advantage. If you don't like the Ford dealer contract because you think it's too bad and you cross the street to a GM dealer, it's the same thing. Probably written by the same corporate law firm. So there's no competition to give you a better shake in the fine print. Torts, the law of torts. When you're wrongfully injured, you're supposed to have your full day in court, if you want it, before judge and jury. But the insurance companies have other ideas for you. Their definition of controlling risk is to make sure you don't get your claims paid. And so they and their fellow wrongdoers go up to state capital of Washington, and in the last 20 years they've been slowly closing that door on you. Not on the corporations. They have full right to sue. But on you, they say, well, you can only get $250,000 for your brain-damaged infant for a lifetime of pain and suffering. That's enough. Or, you know, you can't have this scientific witness come into the court and go to bat for you to document a grievance. All kinds of ways where they keep you from getting a fair award from the perpetrator who harmed you. So there's contracts, torts. What's left for us to decide? Now, I'll tell you what's left for us to decide. Whether what we know about what's wrong and what needs to be made right is connected to fire in our belly. That's what changes the world. Knowledge, fire in the belly to break our routine and move out. There's an old Chinese proverb that says it all. 14th century, Ming Dynasty. To know and not to do is not to know. To know is not, and not to do is not to know. This country knows more about what needs to be done. It has a greater capability to do it, and doesn't do it, than any other country in the world. Whether it's energy, housing, public transit, healthcare, on and on and on. We know what to do. There are pilot programs, good people doing it here, there, but not diffused to the whole society. We know how to make cars that are far more fuel efficient. We know how to sell pharmaceuticals at a fair and reasonable price. We know how to discipline the credit card companies ripping you off. We know how to transform our economy into a much more sustainable one that's better in terms of health, in terms of consumer pocketbook, in terms of our respect for our descendants. Why aren't we doing it? Because we don't have any power. We have the power, but we have exercised it as if we don't have any power. I'll give you an example. There are 535 men and women in the Congress. They put their shoes on every day like you and I do. A little over 1,500 corporations get their way with a majority of 535 men and women, senators and representatives in Congress. These corporations have a lot of power and money, but they don't have a single vote. We've got the vote. And it's back home asleep, trundling to the polls forevermore to choose between the least of the worst of the two parties. And every 4 years they're going to get worse, because when you're a least worst voter, you don't want to upset the least worst and make demands on the least worst, like for full health insurance, living wage, getting out of Iraq, and so on. Because you don't want the worst. Because you think that if you upset the least worst may not win. Think of the lack of self-confidence. If you're a women's rights group, a civil rights group, if you are a migrant farm assistance group, if you are a consumer group, an environment group, a tax reform group, you should be reluctant to pull Obama or John Kerry or Al Gore in your direction because you're so freaked out that George W. Bush or McCain may win? I mean, if you really believe that what you were advancing was good for the people, and certainly most of these are pretty widely supported by the people, you should want to make Kerry and Obama better by pulling them in your direction and to get more votes that way. Because the corporations are pulling them in the other direction. And if you don't pull in this direction, what kind of person you're going to get in the White House is being pulled 24/7 in the corporate direction and being rewarded for it by raising more money in corporate interest groups than any other Democratic nominee in history. You know, Obama's raised more money from Wall Street, corporate attorneys, corporate interest groups than John McCain by far. That's never happened before. Democrat raising more than Republican from corporate money. Why are these corporate interests investing in Barack Obama? Isn't he the agent of hope, change, hope, change, hope, change? Am I starting to hypnotize you? You think the drug companies that give to Obama and the oil executives and the New York Wall Street types and the coal industry, especially in the nuclear industry, you think they are looking for change? They got the government right where they want it. Why are they investing in Barack Obama? Because he's their man. He's proved it in the state Senate in Illinois, the U.S. Senate in Washington, and as a candidate. Do you hear Barack Obama demanding a comprehensive crackdown on corporate crime, fraud, and abuse? You hear Barack Obama saying that full Medicare for all should displace Aetna, Cigna, and all the other grasping, profiteering insurance companies that make more money when they deny you claims? How's that for a perverse incentive? Do you hear the drug companies worried about Barack Obama because he wants to reverse Bush's legislation that prevented Uncle Sam from engaging in bargain discounts negotiation with the drug companies under the Drug Benefit Act? Yeah. Keep going. Give all the examples you want. He's for nuclear power. He's for coal. He's for tort reform. You heard that on the last debate. Prepare to be very disappointed. Years ago, when we were fighting the civil rights battle, before Obama was born, and we'd sit around the table in the cafeteria after a long day, catching up on dinner, and we'd say, you know, can you imagine if someday as African-American president, how things would change? Yeah, don't bet on it. Corporations have a way of controlling people regardless of race, color, creed, or sexual preference. Once they find that a politician is cowardly, they got him. And most of these politicians are cowardly. You don't find many like Dennis Kucinich or Ron Paul.